What's good, y'all? Today we're gonna be talking about credit hacks for people my age, teenagers up to young adults. I believe I started when I was like 17. Really, just kind of playing around with it, learning how to, scale up my credit, talking to different people like my parents, different, advisors and people online. Watch a lot of YouTube, that's where I get a lot of my information from. All right, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is just establish some credit, because you can't really do anything credit-wise if you don't have a credit score or just any kind of credit file at all. So if you don't have, opportunity of being put on as an authorized user, just from, being younger or, by a parent or a guardian, then here's some steps that you can do to create an initial credit score and just, to kind of get the ball rolling. And one of the first things I know a lot of people do is they go and get a secured card, which is always a great option. Basically, the way a secured card works is, for people who don't know, you're kind of using your own money to get approved for the card, because if you don't have any credit, you kind of have to start somewhere. So they're allowing you to put your own money down as a deposit, to be approved for the card. So kind of think about it like using your own money as collateral to get the credit card. So the first thing I did was sign up for this site called My Jeweler's Club, which I don't think they're operating anymore, so don't try to go and sign up for this site. But it's pretty much like the idea of a secured card. You put down a certain amount and you're able to use that as something that reflects on your credit. And I think when I first did this, the limit was like 5,000, I think, which sounds crazy, but it wasn't like a credit card. It was just available credit that I could use on their website, and they sold jewelry. So I would just use it and probably get like a pair of earrings like once a month, and then pay back half, and then pay back the remaining amount before the statement closes, and which we'll talk about in a whole nother video in terms of statement closing dates and stuff like that. But basically, it just looks good on your credit, and when creditors see that on a fresh credit score, it always helps because you see a bigger amount of credit available and you're not using that much. It makes your utilization look great, and it makes your credit file just look that much better than, fresh and like nothing being there. The second thing I did is get this app called Self. It reports an installment loan on your credit file, which looks good, just like the last thing I mentioned. Basically, you put down, I think, like $25 or something, and it's gonna report that amount each month, so it becomes like a subscription kind of. It's cool because it's not, that high of a payment. You can afford it, and it reflects each month, and it slowly builds you a pretty good credit score. I think I went from having like nothing to having like a 680, and then from then on it just scaled up. So it's just all about, slowly scaling up and, improving that credit score and just making your whole credit file more complex. There's a lot of people who actually have a pretty good credit score but can't get approved for a $1,000 credit card. It's because their credit file isn't complex enough, if that makes sense. Like, you can have 2 credit cards your whole life and still not get approved for a certain card that you want because you don't have enough available credit. Like, the trade lines on your credit aren't big enough and strong enough, so it's all about just making it more complex and, just pushing the scale up. All right, so cool. The My Jeweler's Club the Self app is reporting monthly, and I think I let it roll for a few months. Then I officially applied for my first unsecured credit card. It was a Capital One card. I can't remember the exact card it was, but it's kind of one of the beginner cards. And my initial limit was $750, which is not terrible. And I think after a few months, I don't think it was even 6 months. It was like between 3 to 6 months. They increased my limit to $1,250. So I'm pretty sure it had to do with the $5,000 trade line from the My Jeweler's Club showing up on my credit file, as well as the Self and a few other installment loan things I had reported. Pretty much just stuff similar to Self and My Jeweler's Club, which I'll share in other videos. But for this video, I'm just giving you an overall, general, example of how you can scale your credit up from not having any credit at all. And what a lot of people gotta realize is when you're young, it's the best time to start working on your credit, because I even didn't understand, the power of credit and what you can get. There's plenty of stuff I have now that I wouldn't even have if it wasn't for me focusing on my credit. Even within the last 2 years, I watch a lot of YouTube. I study a lot of, financial people, if that makes sense, a lot of entrepreneurs, and they all always mention credit. The importance of credit, how credit works, how you can build the lifestyle that you want with credit. That's the main thing that attracted me, I'm just be honest. I didn't hear the word credit and immediately get excited. I've been hearing it my whole life, at least until I was old enough to understand somewhat of what it was. But once I really started to understand how you can go and finance the dream car of yours. You don't have to go and cash it out. And in my opinion, I think it's smarter to finance it because you can leverage your money in that way. If you say you have $100,000 in your account and you know that you have to pay rent and other stuff in your life, but you also want to get this, I don't know, Jaguar or, whatever type of car that you want, say it's in the $40,000 range. To spend $40,000 doesn't really make sense, unless you got it like that. But if you know that you want the car and you can afford it, but you have to finance it, why not finance it so you can put a certain amount down, if any at all? Because if your credit is good enough, you may not have to put nothing down. But, finance the car and then, get your monthly payments going, which actually helps your credit. One of the things I learned from some people I watch on YouTube is the way the dealerships are working lately. It's kind of good to finance a car or to have had financed a car before, because it's kind of like tiers now. So if you want, like, say, like a BMW, and say it's in the $80,000 to $90,000 range, and you had a Nissan prior to that finance for like the $15,000 to $20,000 range, they actually can give you a higher chance of, getting approved for a certain car. Maybe not 80 to 90,000, that was a bad example, but basically just say you want a car that is a higher tier than yours in, terms of pricing. Already having an auto trade on your account, which is, financing a car that's considered an auto trade. Already having that on your file actually can help your chances of getting a car that has, more value and more price on it, because of the fact that, a lender trusted you with the previous auto loan. So that's just a little, example of the importance of credit and how it works, and why people, our age, 20, 19, 18, 17, even, it doesn't really matter the age. I just say young adults because that was around the age that I started. I started at like 17, 18. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have, the type of mindset that I have now. And I'm grateful for it because I'm working on it right now. So in the future, stuff is just, effortless. Yeah, so it's all levels to it. I started off with the My Jewelers Club, the self-app, went straight to an unsecured card afterwards, got approved on the spot. It may be different for everybody, but I'm pretty sure if you start off with building an initial score, molding it, doing different stuff that's gonna benefit your credit. In my opinion, the easiest way to build an initial score and, start in the right direction is getting something like the self-app, or I wouldn't say My Jewelers Club because I don't think they're operating anymore. But something like the self-app is perfect. You set the amount you want to pay monthly, it reports, and it's helping your credit in the process. Like I said, towards the end of your loan or at the end of your loan, they give you the money back that you have accumulated from all of the months adding up, if that makes sense. And you get your money back, and I'm pretty sure you can start another one if you want. But either way, we're just using it to level up and scale anyway. So, man, this ring light is way too bright. I'm sorry for that. It's got me looking real tight. But we're gonna talk about utilization real quick. That's something that we should pay attention to when we're first starting to build our credit. That's something that, pretty much anybody should pay attention to, whether they have credit or they're building it for the first time. But especially when you're first starting it, because it gets you in those good habits. So having a utilization rate low is gonna help you, not guaranteed, but help you get a better chance of getting approved for credit cards, loans, whatever the case may be. Just different stuff you apply for, because they're gonna be looking at your file thinking, okay, he didn't use a big amount of his credit that's available. He has a pretty good utilization rate, let's offer him this. Basically just looks responsible, looks professional, and it's gonna help you in the long run. The quicker you get this information, the better it's gonna be long term. Like I said, you start young, it's gonna be great. I've only been really focusing on my credit for 2 years, and even though it's been 2 years only, I've learned a lot, and I've actually done a lot of stuff that I didn't think I'd be able to do, especially when, it's still fresh. 2 years of credit is nothing, in the real credit game. 10, 20, 30 years of history is what really gets you to get anything you want, $0 down and all types of stuff. But we'll talk about that in other videos. So some key takeaways from this video: establish your credit, self-app to start, initially, build the credit to establish that score. And then, get an unsecured credit card for the first time if you have not already. And I'd say like 2 to 3 months before you apply for that card. And then from then on, you just keep scaling up. Make sure that your utilization stays low. Make sure that you pay on those payments that are due. If it's gonna be your first credit card, you should have no problem paying everything that you use each month before the statement closes, because it's your first credit card. There's no point in using it that much anyways. As you scale and as you learn the way credit works more, only then should you think about, using more available credit and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that in other videos. So that's pretty much it, man. It's King Titus. I was talking to y'all about some credit hacks. The next video, we're gonna go a little bit deeper in some other stuff. But like I said, man, establish that credit, get the self-app or, a similar installment loan situation, build that credit, get your first unsecured card and just scale it up from there. But until the next video, I'm gonna catch y'all.